About 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, my computer is, oh no, it's YouTube. It's
Yeah,
YouTube.
it says meeting is now streaming. Yeah.
Beautiful. 5 seconds. Welcome everyone. Oh, I have to put in the link into the other room right now. Just give me 1 second. This is the, oh, and I have to mute the actual.
It says meeting is now streaming.
There we go. Boom.
I'm so proud of you, Adolfo. Your technology
There we go.
Really too kind.
It's the requirement nowadays, though.
Here we go. We're launched now.
Yay.
Okay, welcome everyone. I hope that all of you are able to hear us and see us. Here, let me actually double check here. Yes, we are perfectly well. Oh my God. Okay, well, everyone, welcome to the newest edition of Chronicles. We have with us here today two of my favorite old school retailers, really good friends. In fact, Aaron from ARCannabis and Andrea from Village Bloomery. Thank you both for taking the time to be with us today. And down below me, I don't know if she's below you in my screen. She is. That is Julie Domingo, my partner in crime, co-owner of CannaReps. Thank you for joining us today, Julie, as well.
Oh, thank you for having me. This is my first Chronicles with you today.
I know.
Yeah.
Just in case anybody out there doesn't know, Julie has been busy at home with a new baby, so she has a great excuse for not having been on here till now.
Yes. Literally, I think the first Chronicles episode, I gave birth. And then it's been a blur since then.
Like the day before. Effectively.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, right before we started this session, we were already kind of getting into it, Julie. I know you just joined us. We were already, you know, we all did the quick, hey, how you been? And immediately all of us were like, well, it's been, you know what I'm saying? It's been. Andrea and Aaron, you know, again, thank you so much. But just so everybody else knows the background, because I think a lot of people out there don't really know about the fact that for me, so we were all, everyone on this chat right now at one point was a competitor in the gray market.
Yeah.
And really it was a bit different back then because everybody talked to each other, everybody, hey, how's it been going with the city? Hey, did you get those cops? It was a community.
Yeah.
And later for me, I stopped operating retail and I got entirely into production and into regulation. And I was a very happy supplier for each of you, actually. Yeah. So for us and for me, this is huge full circle moment.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful.
Absolutely.
Because I just love all three of you so much. You know that I think each one of you know that. So yeah, thank you. So stoked to have this session with you today and to talk about where we've been and where we're going, guys. So yeah.
And to be honest, Adolfo, you were the glue. You are the glue that connects all of us. And
no. I was one of the guys who was very geeky, and I was very pissed off at people using myclobutanil, paclobutrazol, and all of these different kinds of products. And spreading that knowledge was very important to me. But remember that I'm a new kid in town, Julie. I'm a kid. I'm young. Look at his face. You know, I learned recently all this stuff came to me from Canadian gurus and American gurus and European gurus. Down in Mexico, we don't even have labs to test for this stuff, you know? So yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's all relative, you know, and I'll share this, you know, story of how we met, because many people don't really know how Julie and Adolfo ever met. And interestingly, we've actually never even seen each other. We've never even met face to face until I think a year of working together. So with running a dispensary, and what's very interesting, common thread amongst all three of us is that we were running dispensaries with a completely different name and different brand at that time. Yeah. And so it started off with me with MedPot Now, and we were one of those, I would call it a pot shop type of feel. It didn't really have that classy experience. And the clientele, they're all patients. They were great and loyal to us. However, our business wasn't doing so well, and we needed to get good product in. So I searched far and wide, and I had to ask every single person in the industry. And at that time, it was relatively smaller. And so I was lucky enough to get in touch with Adolfo. And it was actually Jamie Shaw. So I'm going to name drop her, which is our next guest for next month's Chronicles episode. But she was the one that actually introduced me to Adolfo. She's like, you know what? If you really need help getting this done, talk to Adolfo. And she was part of the BC Compassion Club at that time. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, great. So after talking to Adolfo on the phone, he was amazing. And he's like, I got you, whatever you need. I'm like, okay. And then all of a sudden our menu and our product start to fill out with like amazing product of different categories. And we were able to really fulfill a wider, more broad market rather than just selling the heavy indicas that we were known for. So a year later, I was like, okay, you know what? Like this Adolfo guy seems like he knows a lot. And I didn't even know like you were Mexican or anything like that. Like I just I didn't know anything about you. And so I was like, well, my staff needs training and you seem like you know so much because your product that you bring is maintained and kept so well. You know about the backstory about the products. So can you just help us? And he was so generous that he gave our entire organization a training session. And that session just changed everything in our company, from our CEO to our purchaser to our merchandising and marketing. And the way we interacted with our patients and our clients, it was really a life-changing training session. And so that's how, we got inspired to become a much better dispensary. We rebranded as Aura Health Studio. And through that process, we gained the first Compassion Club business license in Vancouver. So that was from the city of Vancouver. And a huge component of that is through the guidance of Adolfo. So I want to give you praise, Adolfo, because I really wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. And I feel like, Adolfo, you had a very similar impact for Andrea and Aaron here too. So perhaps we can start off with Andrea, because we go way back too. And I think you go even farther back. So let's talk about how did you get, or what made you get into the cannabis industry? Like from
in the very first place.
Yeah, like to working in it. We all love cannabis, but really working in it and risking your life, livelihood to be a part of it.
Right. So I would say I have called myself a late bloomer. I was 48 when I contemplated cannabis as a life's work. I had very little experience with cannabis. I grew up in East Vancouver. It was everywhere. I probably didn't know one person who didn't consume. I was just one of those, it doesn't work for me types, because I had no information. And I had one wonderful experience and then one overwhelming, I just wanted to sleep experience, and went, oh, who wants to sleep all the time? That's not my thing. So, didn't go back to it until I was having symptoms around menopause. And I'm always been open to plant-based medicine and alternative life, in terms of health and wellness. So I looked into THC and I looked into cannabis, and it turns out that there was some relationship between estrogen and THC, and just enough that people were working on pain management. And I thought, and sleep, these are all things that I could really relate to. And I went into a clinic, and I'm also a lifelong entrepreneur. I opened up the Café du Soleil when I was 21, and I opened up a Rags and Reruns, a clothing store. And I was always sort of opening shops that fulfilled a need that I saw. So there's nowhere to go with babies and coffee. Make a coffee shop. There's nowhere to go for secondhand clothes that are cheap. Let me open up So I just realized that, this is not a place that's got me in mind. Like, this is a place that's got a lot of green paint that I don't ever want to see this color again. Fluorescent lighting, lots of aromas coming at me at the same time. And it was a lot of information to process. So I just thought, wow, number one, we got to change the decor. Okay, so that's one thing. And then I got my recommended product, but I realized that the the consultant really had very little insight into what I was talking about. This is a very young man who doesn't probably feel comfortable talking to a woman his mother's age about her sore breasts and her inability to sleep and the fact that she has no libido. I mean, that's a lot to ask of a young person who hasn't had a CannaReps training or something, you know what I mean? So I didn't get a great product. I went home, ate a chocolate, had no idea what potency what is, hadn't ever eaten cannabis, and had a very dynamic 8-hour session on my couch where I literally passed out. I think I was drooling. Like, it was not pretty, but I had the best sleep I had ever had, and woke up and said, oh my goodness, I might even do that once a month just to sleep like that, to wake up feeling like this. So that was like my angle. I just thought, I want to do this. I want to share this information. I started exploring it. I started finding incredible benefits from tinctures and topicals and all these sort of extended products. And then I started to look at the flowers. I was quite intimidated by flowers for quite a long time, to be real. Even after we opened up the shop, I was like, they freak me out. They smell a lot. I don't understand them. They look intense. So I kind of stayed in the capsules, topicals, bath bombs, all that kind of stuff realm. And my partner Jeremy worked more with the flowers. But I had to face that. I was like, dude, you're kind of bringing on you're carrying on a stigma if you don't really learn to love these flowers, the source material. And I think I kind of went on a tangent, but if I go back, obviously we opened a store. Okay. And then my journey was like exploring the flowers. And Adolfo, you came in right around that time when I was really opening up to flowers. And I started realizing that, you know, your nose knows. If you don't like the smell, you don't have to smoke that. Don't do it. If you like the smell, hey. So that began my love relationship with the flower, and you know, retail then just grew from there. Once you really love the product. Yeah.
I don't know if you remember the very, very first time I met you, because you probably don't know this, but on Commercial Drive, you were like a superstar. You were like somebody that, everybody, like, when I was a hippie on Commercial Drive, big ass beard, skinny guy, growing weed in somebody's house. Yeah. I had every girlfriend I ever had would go to your sex shop.
Oh, really?
So in case any of you don't know, Andrea is the marketer that created the first, what I would consider, woman-friendly sex shop in the history of Vancouver. And for me, that store, Andrea, just so you know, as a Mexican kid, come to this first thing I get to off the plane and I can smoke a joint anywhere. I'm like, holy shit. And I get a girlfriend and she takes me to the store where there's like an assortment of dildos that you could never, it's like the dispensary of dildos.
Totally.
And Andrea was like the most knowledgeable person in the world. Every product, Andrea knew everything about it. The manufacturer, the material. It was like I was meeting the best bud tender in the world of all of these things. She was so
honestly say working there and learning from the founders of that company, really exploring that, is 100% transferable to cannabis, because you got to talk about things that make you uncomfortable, right? You have to drop your guard because you're vulnerable, and you have to say, you know, I want to put this in my bum, or I'm doing this because I have no libido, whatever. Those are things that are very hard to discuss, right? Yeah. And then to say that you're afraid that you smoked something and it made you feel frightened, or you know, or you ate something, and like, that is a vulnerable place to be. And I think that's an extremely important skill set that was brought over into this space. And that was the skill that bud tenders, bloom tenders, whatever you call them, consultants, that's what they bring. They're those people. They're people who want to hold space for that vulnerability.
So if it wasn't for, I'll be frank with you, because I'd never seen stuff like that in my life. People that took a sex shop so seriously, scientifically, out to help people, because sex is this thing that we sweep under the rug that's so, it's like water and food, and nobody likes to treat it like it's that way. Yeah. And when I experienced that at your shop, and obviously there was also the Compassion Club down the street from my house. Yeah. Yeah. Those were the two shops as a hippie kid, come to Canada, and I'm like, oh my God, those are the two retail experiences that made me part of who I am. Just so
Oh,
you're
I'm
aware.
so happy to hear that.
The
That's so
Compassion Club,
wonderful.
yeah,
Yeah.
and your sex shop were the two things that
Oh.
made me go, you know what? My life, I can be different. I don't have to be like this.
Yeah.
I can think
Yeah.
differently. I can have a different kind of. And I
Yeah.
know for Aaron and Julie, you guys really know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Because you guys, you know, in fact, you two. The thing is, you immigrated from the Netherlands, correct, Andrea? So you have a little bit of a different
Sweden.
immigrant
Yeah.
experience than
Yeah.
like myself,
Yeah.
Aaron.
100%. I'm white. I'm a lady.
Julie,
I lived in East
where?
End. It's all good. I know. Yeah.
No, our families are like my family. The only people in my family that were cool with my life choices
Yeah.
are mom and dad.
Yeah.
And I'm a Latino family. I got a shit ton of
Lots
cousins,
of people. Yeah.
aunts, uncles. Like we're huge. Nobody, not one other member of the family
Yeah.
is cool. So, you know, Aaron, I really want to hear from you, brother. How did you get into this, man?
Yeah.
Was your experience like? What was it like? What was it like? Tell me.
Well, okay, cool. So I probably took my first step into the cannabis world about in 2006. So that's about 15 years of experience, I'd say I have, and it's not bad. I'm only 33 years old.
Yeah.
But the main thing was prior to the store, I was a designated grower prior to opening the stores, and that's when I really realized how much people relied on this plant in a medical way. You know, it was quite such a shame to see patients struggling to find a supply that they could rely on and trust. And growing isn't really for everybody. And you know, purchasing from your local drug dealer isn't any more convenient or safe. So, you know, for sure, like change was needed, no doubt. And then that's what motivated me to get in there. It's like help make some change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. Well, you know, Aaron, I always have to say both of your shops. My shop was also like that. Julie, you had also a very awesome medical service. The thing about your shop, Aaron, was that you had a huge space and you had an enormous membership. And every time that I would go in there, I would see somebody that I had helped or somebody that I know somebody had helped. And you guys held it down on that corner in a part of the city, dude, where there was nothing.
Yeah.
I just have to tell you, man, like how it was great working with you back then. And, you know, now whatever it is we're doing, every time I see you, I have a great time, man. And it wasn't, Aaron, the thing about you, bro, is, Andrea, you guys had an amazing, but everyone on this
Totally.
amazing
Yeah.
team. Aaron, you had a bunch of heads on your team, bro, like a bunch of people that were,
Yeah.
you know, I'll never forget Tina. I'll never forget the people that I met on your team, bro. I see them on the street sometimes and I'm like, wow, each of those people really loved cannabis with like a personal gusto.
Mhm.
And like you were like, wow, these folks care about quality to a level. I think the level, I'll tell you something. I was very obsessed with quality. You guys know that about me. But I had to, when I came to Aaron's office, that was gonna have 4 buyers look at my product.
Yeah.
And each one of them was like, one of them is a specialist on the Kush. Another one like a specialist on the hybrid. And this girl that was specialist on the Kush. Oh my God, man, her standards were like, wow. And that's why the gas on your shelves was what it was at all times.
And look at this. This is something that happened even though it was competition back then.
Yeah.
I remember one time, I don't know if it was you, Aaron, I can't remember, someone called us though from the shop and said, hey, we got something here. We got everything we need. We think you might appreciate it. Can I send someone down? Hell yes. Thank you. Because they knew this one might be really good for them. And you know what? That was the kind of community that existed. And you know, that's not happening now.
Yeah.
That's the community for sure.
Yeah.
That's the culture that existed back then.
Yeah.
Totally. And I gotta say, each in one of our shops, actually reinvigorated the local community in that area. You know, we all because it was so hard to get a landlord to say, yeah, you can open up a pot shop. You know, back then we didn't even use the word cannabis. right? The word was weed or marijuana. And with landlords basically charging huge premiums to rent that space unless you were lucky enough to own a space. But they were usually in like these pockets in neighborhoods that weren't, that didn't have much local walking traffic or anything. And so by building businesses there, we brought people into that area. And I remember businesses alongside our dispensary started to pop up. And it really built up that neighborhood. And it was a pretty ghetto neighborhood. Like if anyone knows, Little Saigon in Vancouver is not much to talk about. But, ever since we opened the dispensary, a lot more businesses are thriving in that area. And same likewise for the two of you, right?
For me, I was not we came in at a time it was 2014 when we were looking for real estate. It was a very different time. And we had decided that we were not going to take something where we're being charged extra, like we're not open to that. And we were not going to take something that literally you could hear the rats in the floors. You know what I mean? It's like, no, thanks for bringing me, but I'm not, no. And we just really scored. Chickens, excellent. We really scored. Like the place that we found, the landlord was super open. He was an attorney, and he thought, I think what you guys have going on is pretty cool. And I think the fact that this building was designed by Arthur Erickson and he was about counterculture, that would be very welcome in our space. Like it was just like an amazing fluke. So we walked into like gorgeous, but very tucked away off the beaten track, no walk by traffic. You have to find us. You know what I mean?
You literally have to find, yeah. Like the first time I came, I'm like, where is this place?
Where is this?
Yeah, me too. The first time.
Yeah, and then same
pretty.
We had a back door. It was more of our back door. People were like knew about us, right? It was kind of like prohibition, like alcohol prohibition, right?
Yeah.
So let's switch gears to product, because we are all big advocates on providing good quality product. And I gotta say, back in the day, and I have no filter, okay? But back in the day, it used to be, some really good growers, and we would have some designated growers provide product for us. But a lot of time there would be these other dealers that would just come into our store and be like, hey, I've got this and I've got this, how many pounds? And you're talking about, okay, well, how many pounds do you need to buy? How much they're selling at? Is it a quad? Is it a chip? Where are we? And can you make a decision in 1 or 2 days? And of course, pay cash now, right? And that's how we procured product. And that's definitely not the case today. So I wanted to get your insights, Aaron and then Andrea, about, just making sure, how did you get product on your shelves back then? And let's talk about, what's it like now?
Yeah, well, I'll go quickly. I mean, the scene back then, first of all, compared to now, that's the true definition of black and white. But products back then, you could literally touch it, smell it, taste it. You appraise the product yourself before you purchase it, so you can assure its quality and you get value. But the difference nowadays is it's all product comes pre-packaged, it's pre-priced, and they all come with a SKU. So that's the huge difference right there, I would say.
Yeah, and when you talk about appraising the product, we're talking about then the market becomes more dynamic and the market adjusts, right? We know that in fall, a lot of crop comes down and then product can be cheaper and we can sell $5 grams, right? And sometimes I remember we would have some droughts in a way. And so the product prices, went up and selection was a little bit fewer. But what was always true back in the day was that product was always changing. We rarely carried the same product again and again. But nowadays with the legal market, they have their SKU and it's the same product, and that's the product line.
Right.
What's your opinion on that? Like, do you think that customers enjoyed that novelty and having constant change, or do they like having something reliable with the consistent SKUs?
For me, I would say it's a cross between, like, certain things you want to have consistent access to. You don't want to run out of your CBD oil. You don't want to run out of your 10 milligram capsules. You don't want to run out of your Blue Dream. Like, there's a couple of things that you have to have, but you do want to see a little bit of choice. I want to see some selection. Like right now I'm looking at, like, how many purple punches do we need? How many black cherries? You can tell when a genetic's been released, because it's like, oh great, look, this is everything, it's all the same. Okay. And then did they actually grow this? You know what I mean? So that's frustrating for me, because even I can fool myself. I can be very romantic. Even if back in the day some of the stories I heard were not true, at least I had a story. You know what I mean? Like, I actually feel like they were true. I met lots of people, like a women's growers collective, who had mud huts and grew this particular kind of cultivar, and this is the only thing they grew. They were so cool. That was bomb shit. Like, I loved it. I loved hearing about, like, crop failures. I loved hearing about, this guy's from this place and he's doing this right now, and he's using this kind of water that he puts Japanese symbols on, and he's putting energy into them. Like, whatever. I just thought that was fun and joyful. I don't care if you're premium. I don't care if you have a green plastic box or a blue plastic box. Those are not interesting points of contact for any of us. So if I look at challenges, I think diversity is a challenge, and I think getting actually tangible, relatable stories to communicate the product's intentions or whatever to the customer, that's lacking. And a big part of that was that it was a top-down kind of approach. We had a corporate consumer packaged good entity sit on top of the cannabis space, and so, like, pushing you down. You're gonna fit into these molds. You're gonna talk our language. You're gonna, and we're gonna send in our tobacco and alcohol reps to talk to you. But you're so unrelatable. We literally for the first year said, if you come in our store, you're gonna feel very sad about it because we don't like you. And it was probably not the best way to meet new and fresh salespeople, but I just thought, how dare you walk up in here and think you can slightly push your little alcohol agenda on top of this plant you know nothing about, and it's a very complex and dynamic plant. They may be, yes, wonderful and recreational, probably medical, probably spiritual first, right? That recreational thing, great, it comes later, but I really don't know one person who says, I'm only smoking this because I just completely want to have fun. There's always something in front of that. There's been, like, I've had a long day. I have been defeated 3 times and I just really want to feel good. Okay, there was intention there, right? It is not like, it's so frustrating. Anyways, that divide between culture is really challenging, and not that it's anywhere relatable, but it makes me think about the crossover between when, corporate Canada takes over a grassroots culture. It is similar to when colonizers come in and take over and tell somebody, oh, this is the language, you were doing it wrong, this is how you're supposed to consume it, this is how you're supposed to sell it, this is how everything you thought you knew, you don't know, we're the experts now. It's frustrating. Like, literally the language barriers are frustrating for me.
Well said, Andrea. I got to say that you put that so concisely, and I definitely feel the same. And you have no idea, just because we're a training company, right?
Yeah.
So many organizations and people come to us and say, you know what, I want to get in the industry. I'm considering, being a product rep. I used to have alcohol, tobacco as a background. And when I go into a dispensary, it's embarrassing because the reps there know more than me. And I'm like, well, like, because they have so much more heart and soul into this and more understanding, and never mind, creating a divide between medical and recreational. Like, there is no divide. It's the same product, right? And so with people that have really pioneered this industry, we were here for the patients, for the users that really felt this is a life-changing product that has benefited me, emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, in so many ways. And I want to bring this forward into other people's lives in a safe and responsible manner. Yeah. Now, of course, when we create this recreational divide, the government is just basically saying, oh yeah, well, you know what, you can just go get fun. It's just kind of like go get drunk, like just, you know, for funsies. There's no intention or meaning below it. And so I hope that, you know, it can meld back together, or at least with other nations that do legalize, they can create a meld in this, because the approach is just keep continuing that divide amongst, you know, corporate that says, okay, we're here for the money, versus, you know, medical. It's like, oh, we're here for the people.
You know, it's interesting because on the one hand, I used to be overwhelmed sometimes by how many intense life-altering situations I might engage in a day. Like, you know, things that will scar you forever, like a woman, single mother with an 8-month-old baby and a brain tumor, and she didn't make it. It's freaking brutal. Did the cannabis support her? She got some relief for a couple of months and got her shit sorted. So that's a gift. But wow, heavy ass shit. I don't know where those people are going now. And that's, you know, my throat gets tight when I say that, because that's heavy, you know. The cat's out of the bag. People are still looking for alternative treatments to cancer, and there are still doctors who don't have these conversations. So where do they go? And I hope that there's an underground net that's capturing and holding them every day, right? On the other hand, a whole new cross-section of people that never identified as cannabis consumers are opening up to this plant. And interestingly enough, it's still anxiety related, pain related. It's not, that part hasn't changed. People come in every day, and it's barely ever just for something like, oh, I'm just looking for a Cabernet. Like it's not ever that simple. There's usually more conversation around what they're looking for. Yeah, so that is encouraging. And to me, that means that we're lifting a whole population who, first of all, thought they weren't part of cannabis, the cannabis world or whatever. And so now there are maybe double the amount of people who are who can at least have a conversation about cannabis and can identify as having used it in their lives. It's just about, now we have to bridge. We've got a lot of bridging to do, and we've got a lot of bringing, I don't know, the activism's not over is what I'm saying. And I just don't know how we do it though, because there's a serious underground, dark, quiet, doing very important work, you know what I mean? Then there's another kind of a hustle and bustle and taking advantage of the fact that there's a unregulated kind of mail order vibe going on. Okay, you know, do you? That's the other thing in BC. And then we have this regulated tier. And it's an unfortunate situation. And I look back and think, let's think about what we could have done differently so we can learn, you know what I mean? And I know that we can discuss that moving forward, but.
Yes, I can go into a huge rant.
Go ahead,
Oh,
Julie.
sorry about that, Adolfo.
This is the Andrea and Julie show?
Yeah, no. We can certainly talk like for hours on this, especially about the way that the government has set regulations to impose competition and create a monopoly in favor of the government and not in favor of the small business. But I do want to hear from Aaron about your transformation, because for you went from a designated grower to dispensary operator, and like, let's talk about that metamorphosis, like of who you become now.
Okay, so you want to talk about the past again?
Well, the past makes you today. So how you have transformed from, you know, being a grower into what your role is like now.
Yeah, okay. So again, so after I was a grower, and I know I was around a lot of medical patients, you know, I actually have my own story as well. Some of you may know, but I've been part of a medical journey as well. But seeing, you know, patients actually struggling to find not just cannabis, but like quality cannabis or the right type of genetic or strain designed for them, and it wasn't as available, and it was definitely not convenient and safe, that's for sure. So like opening retail stores was definitely the goal. We had to target and find other medical patients that we can help you know, it wasn't just our neighbors or the people that we talked to or the closest to us. So opening our first medical store was a success, and you know, patients showered us with love and support, and they were like, it was amazing to see like, how much cannabis was, you know, inaccessible. And so from there we did face more challenges, and we wanted to expand and grow. And like you said, like, you know, dealing with landlords, you know, finding new leases, those were all big challenges, paying our premiums. And again, we did that so that we could help out more people. It was the only way to get more cannabis out, to get more people talking about cannabis, to prove this plant was good, you know, like was needed by people. So we ended up opening 10 shops across, or 11 shops across Canada, with a total of 45,000 patients. So that was the journey back then. And you know, it was also quite sad to see all our stores shut down after legalization. After legalization, we followed, we were compliant. So we were here for the patients, but it's this weird world, you know, like we had to shut down so that we can reopen in order to re-help them again, so that we could be part of this recreational world, because we understand what delivering value and delivering the best cannabis product to customers, you know, at an affordable price. And we want to do that. I want to be like a role model for Canada. I want to open up stores all across Canada and share that again. And, you know, that's when you guys were talking about like product, like, yes, I believe that having the same products with the same strains is good. It's good for customers to be able to find that same strain they want. Now, when it comes to variety and different strains, that's always going to exist. Like, strains are going to keep on growing. These LPs got like thousands and thousands of seeds in their back end. So they're releasing strains nonstop. Now it's up to us as retailers to give our customers that premium strain. They're coming to us, right? So they're going to trust us to supply them with the best cannabis there is out there on the market. Now on the LDB, every product in our store, we've smoked it, we've tested it. Every single staff can vouch for it. And, you know, if it doesn't pass our smoke test, I'll put it at cost. I'll get rid of the item, and it'll never make it back into our shelves. You know, licensed producers and the reps coming down, that's great. That's just extra knowledge for us, but they will never influence us on our purchasing. Like, we will only purchase what we would want to smoke, what we would want to sell. So again, they can do whatever they want, but we're going to do our best, and we're going to give you the best.
And believe it or not, people laugh and say, oh, hard job, but it's a hard job. That's a lot of cannabis to smoke.
It takes a team.
With an analytical, it is. You got to write it. Ooh, that's kind of harsh on the throat. What do you think about this? All the conversation, all the notes, la la la. It's a big deal. It is a big deal. But I think, and I agree with what you're saying about, it's going to be up to us now to curate menus that speak for us, and that's now becoming a bit more feasible. I found in the first year, I was like, whoa, slim pickings. Wow, this is not okay. This last year has been quite good, and I wanted to make sure to take an opportunity to say thank you for doing that ARCannabis Cup. It was so fun. You brought community back into the mix. We were all voting. We all wanted to raise people, and it was such a nice move. So I really want to give you props for that. That was beautiful. It was like a little bit of, oh, good, something that brings us together. And it was awesome.
I did that because you know, back in the days, right, one of the most memorable things to me were those events and fundraisers that we organized collectively as an industry. You know, it was so nice to see growers and retail stores and customers in one area celebrating and socializing good causes, you know? So like, I missed that part, and I really wanted to bring some of that culture back. So then that's why me and Matt were discussing, and that's when we introduced ARCannabis cup, and it worked.
Excellent.
It brought the whole community back for a moment there.
It did, and we're still talking.
We all got to do our part to introduce more events and collective like that. And we can bring that industry back. We can make it fun and
and
Yes.
it's about understanding the compliancy piece too, like around, okay, how do we do this and stay compliant?
Yeah,
Oh my God.
exactly.
God.
We can do both. It's possible.
Yeah. So
It's
that
just
was
being
good.
creative. And I got to say, what I love, you know, both of you, your focus is creating a personalized cannabis experience because it meant so much to you personally.
Mhm.
And cannabis is that type of experience where, you know, you open up, your heart opens, you connect with other people. It's a social thing. And, you know, it feels good to, you know, smoke a joint with somebody, right? And so creating that interaction in store and saying, hey, the way it smells really matters. And the way you smell is going to be different than the way I smell it. And so the way I describe it might work for you, might not work for you, but let's have a conversation about it, right? This is not something like, you know, a website will be able to really provide that full interaction in. And I think emphasizing that those touch points with the consumer is really key. And I think that's where, for people that see the value in that, they're going to continue to be loyal. Now let's talk about some of the challenges, major challenges that you faced as, you know, you transitioned from prior to legalization to where you are now.
Do you want to go first, Aaron? Or?
Yeah, I'll go first. So I guess some of the transitions from back then legacy to legal now, right? So it took us 19 months for our application stage. So from application till our first store was licensed. And so that the major challenges were just trying to cope with the wait time with the province while trying to keep our store leases and operating costs, and pretty much just trying to retain as much capital before it got depleted. Like, you know, try to open before we died.
That's literally the burn rate. And it was really tough for a lot of retailers because it was, you mentioned like some companies were paying hundreds of thousands of dollars on leases of space that they can't do anything with, but they wanted to keep the lease so that when they got approved, they could open, and sometimes you lose.
Yeah, it's because a lot of us didn't know the timeline. So like we pre-planned, and I think we only pre-planned for like 6 months to a year, and we had 3 leases that we were trying to keep hold. So I mean, you times that by 19 months now,
and then what happens is if the city decides to grant a license to your competitor that's your neighbor, okay, well then now the distancing rule applies, and then the lease that you're holding on to is not applicable. It's a lot of sunk costs. And how do you carry and maintain staff? You know, they were loyal employees in the team, and now it's like survival mode.
I think for ourselves too, it was there was the waiting period. It was very, very anxiety filled, and you know, are you going to get cleared and all those things? Like, yeah, who did I know? My God, I hope I didn't. Anyways, getting security cleared was a big relief, and so that part, if I look back, it wasn't so horrible. It's been trying to grow in this space for us has been super challenging. Oh my goodness, there's still so many. What do you call that? Regional districts. There's so many areas that are still prohibiting cannabis, like Surrey's not having it, like Richmond's not having it. So you really have a very small area where you can look, and I'm not super excited about growing outside of province at the moment because that's just a whole other ball game. We looked at Ontario and just thought, oh, I don't know if I have the bandwidth, to be honest. We're a tiny, little tiny team. And having the resources to do that's another challenge. Fundraising is very challenging in this environment now. Too many people went too big, too hard. Too many people went into the public offering space and got burned. So it's kind of a hard time to get funding. And then, like going through, we wanted to try to have 3 licenses at this point. We have 1, and then we have 1 in Victoria that's like in a holding pattern. We just got to wait. You know what I mean? It's not open, and that's frustrating. But yeah, we went to try to get one of these tastings, got slammed by the community and slammed by the Board of Variance. Took, spent a year of rent, put a lot of energy into building the team, really connecting with people, got over 300 letters of support, bam. And you're like, damn, I don't know if I can handle another one of those. It's a lot of money. And
it's money, time, the emotional weight.
Yeah, it's heavy.
The heartache.
Yeah, it's heartache too, for sure. And then, global pandemic was not kind. So we went, we're like half the size that we were in the beginning of the year. And it's devastating, and you feel horrible for not being able to gainfully employ all the people that you really want to. So we had to do layoffs. There's been lots of challenges. And that right now we're a lean, mean machine. And I have to realize that, hindsight, if hindsight's 2020, I would have said, don't try to grow when you're just trying to figure out this new space. This is a whole new ball game. And I didn't really acknowledge just what a different environment it was going to be. It's completely different. The markups alone, the margins alone, the selection, the expense of shopping weekly and all those shipping fees, and it's a totally different ball game.
All right. Anything to add, Aaron, about that? That's okay. That's okay. I gotta say, I think we all learned this lesson is, because there's a lot of hype at the beginning of legalization. People were excited and they're like, oh, throw money in it. Oh, let's buy Aurora stock. Oh yeah, like they're calling out the big names, and like a lot of people were making a lot of money in the stock market. And just personally for me, yes, I've been in the industry and I knew a lot of ins and outs, and I predicted a lot of the stock market behavior, but I actually spent the money instead of putting it into the stock market. I invested it into myself and the business CannaReps. And what I learned is that if you can grow steadily and work off of your profitability, determining and defining your profitability is the most important key to success, because a lot of organizations that were like, well, we're running negative, and we'll make it back because a dispensary we'll make $2-3 million. Oh yeah, this is an $8 million store. And I'm like, yeah, and I'm like, okay, so you're talking about revenue, you're not talking about profit, right? Let's define this. Do you understand the cost of running this? And they're like, yeah, we're going to pay our employees, competitive wages and all of this. And I'm like, okay, this all adds up, right? And then we are looking at real margins. And first year, you're lucky to break even.
Yeah.
Welcome to my world here.
Yeah.
These are some of the challenges I face. So we went from our one store, which opened right on April 20th, right when COVID was starting.
Oh, wow.
Opened our second store the next day, and then our third store in about 3 months later. And today we stand at 5 stores.
Wow.
And I'm working.
That's impressive.
That is impressive. 6. So, right. And how do I do that? And you have to stay lean. You have to like Andrea said, lean, mean, money-making machines. That's what we are. It's just me, my teams, and softwares.
Yeah.
That's the only way I'm able to accomplish, such things, because people always challenge us and they say they don't believe in our market, right? They're like, oh, your margins are not going to make it, and there's no profitability. But, I can prove them all wrong right now, because there's profitability. We're doing it. We're making profit. We got great margins. You just got to know what products to buy so that it's turning. Our turn rates are pretty high turn rates right now, right? So and then we keep our staff lean, knowledgeable. These are people that are cannabis passionate, and it's possible. I don't want people out there thinking this recreational world is not even comparable. I think it's actually almost better. They've got so much opportunity, and you just got a game book that you got to play against, but it's absolutely
different mindset though. You have to be able to transition into that true business mind. And that was the thing that was challenging for me, because I was not there for business. I didn't have a business idea. It wasn't about business. It was about, this is so exciting. Like, look at this information. And that was pre-reg. And I had to really like learn fast and hard.
Yeah,
This is not about joy anymore. This is business. And through business, we can create joy again.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
that piece in the middle, we can't mess around with, because that's what's happening.
Yeah.
Because if you don't learn the business part, then somebody else who doesn't know cannabis is going to know their business part, and it's just going to take over. And
100%.
People who are most passionate about cannabis, it's okay. Let's step in. Let's learn a little bit about business, and so we can deliver our value back to our communities.
100%.
Back to us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. One of the big lessons I learned as being, passionate, and you make emotional choices, and you want to deliver that big shiny experience, and you want to make that big beautiful store, but that's not that doesn't really convert into profit. Right? What you need is customers. You need really good product. You need turning product. You need really good inventory turns. So let's talk about, what are some product trends where you're like, yeah, these are like my bread and butter. These are the must-haves. This is what pleases my customers. What products are you seeing?
Interesting. I wouldn't say I have a bread and butter yet, to be real. I mean, there's always CBD. I mean, CBD oil all day, every day, good selection of CBD products. You want we work hard to keep like the crafties, the micros. So you want a good, potent, heavy quote, sedative indica. I have yet to see one that really blows my socks off, to be real. I just haven't. But you've got your one-to-ones. I don't have a bread and butter. I will honestly say I don't have a bread and butter. There's Simply Bare Organics. If I had a brand, a lot of people are aware of that and they know that brand. That is the conversation that it turns into, is this like, oh, do you have this brand? And I'm like, yeah, let's unpack that brand thing. Like, I want to deconstruct it all the time. So I guess I would have to really look at my analytics, which I hate looking at because I'm not that person, but I have them. And I know that, gummies are making a huge, overwhelming surge because people are concerned about smoking during COVID. And I know that people are looking into vapes. The vape selection is really growing. So that's the thing. Beverages, I really did not think beverages would be a thing. I was like, what kind of madness is this? It's a thing. Okay. It's like, okay, people like their beverages. Great. So there's all these other quote SKUs that we're dealing with. And, we had lots of variety back in the day, but it just seems like these sort of product groupings that you start reading analyticals around, like analytics on, like your beverages are doing this % higher than last week. And, that's kind of how, when I was talking earlier about like how the language has changed, I'm still in that place where I got to really position myself to look at that new language that's, being spoken to me, and to try to dial it back to what I can relate to in the past. And so, yeah, if I were to say bread and butter, I couldn't just say it off the top of my head.
Well, there's definitely an evolution. Back in the day, beverages weren't hot, right? And now the market's different.
But now they're like, wow,
it's different. Back in the day, shatter was like, oh, you got to have a good lineup of shatter, right? And there's not enough now, right?
Yeah.
So Aaron, what about you? You mentioned, you really are keen on making sure that you're a reliable source for your customer.
Yeah, I mean, we got a huge selection, but I can't go through that product right now. But I'll go through some of my favorites. So some of my favorite smokes is I smoke Black Market when I like to treat myself. That's a good smoke. I'll smoke the Pink Kush by Pure Sun Farms, like a good daily smoke. I got my Simply Bare pre-rolls when I'm on the go, quick. And then I do yawn drops because then that way I can do like 50 milligram cups. And I like the fact that you can sip on it and level up as you go.
Love that.
I would say from my personal.
Yeah, I like how you incorporate your lifestyle, right?
Yeah, so that's for me. So you my selection there for sure.
That's what you're doing.
Yeah,
I guess I was going to bring it on a personal thing. What am I doing? I mean, I'm loving the bath bombs. Those one-to-one bath bombs are fun. I tried the MTL cannabis, which I thought was pretty impressive for the price
Nice.
point. Like,
Yeah.
I'd like to be activated, and that was nice.
Sage and sour? Is that what you
Yeah,
like?
Yeah,
that's
sage
high
and
quality.
sour.
That's your style, girl. I know
Right?
you. Yeah.
100%.
Almost 27%.
Yeah, it was nice. That's kind of, and I'm not big on the edibles. I just did though try some of the apricot, the dried fruit. That makes me happy because I'm not really about candy so much, but I do like the dried fruit. The mango needs to be bigger, and I would love to see some potency increases because I really don't feel anything. It's sad. I just don't. I'd have to eat. I don't even have a super high tolerance. I think I'm maybe a 20 milligram person. I could eat 2 milligrams, but it's distillate. I feel tired. I mean, I just don't feel the same. And I don't really know how that works. I'm trying to look at all these products that are labeled sativa, indica, hybrid. It's like, but it's distillate. Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah, that's a
What's
whole
going
nother
on?
conversation.
So
Yeah.
I'm just confused, and I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, well, I don't know
Funny
what to say.
I thought that with legality, this kind of stuff would like decrease, you
I
know?
thought so.
But it's
And I'm like,
it's-
what are you saying,
the
dude?
misrepresentation is just rampant right now. So with a
That's
few
right. You gotta try those yawn drops that I do.
I will try those. I have been looking
And
at
they're water soluble, so I mix it with like any drink, anything.
Awesome. I will. I totally. And they don't have like any weird, bittersweet, weird taste.
No, there's not really. I put a little bit sweetener, but there's another one called Dropbacks now, or
Okay.
no taste at all for sure.
Okay. I'll try those.
Cool. Thank you. Thank
Here we
you.
go. Product recommendations.
Yeah.
See, sharing is caring.
Exactly. And so with that said, that's like our personalized experience, with product and understanding what makes good quality. But what about your customers? Do you find that there is been a change in what customers see in terms of what defines as good cannabis product?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. I would say consumers have definitely evolved. People know how to be really specific nowadays and ask, for example, like THC, CBD contents, package dates, information, consumption times and methods, and of course like pricing and what brand it's from. So they know to like target those questions now. So
true enough. That's a big difference. Almost to the point where it's like, can you just dial that back a bit? Like, I'm looking for something that is YL dominant. It's like, YL dominant? Good luck. Like, we're not getting that intel. And I've never seen that. So sometimes it's a bit much.
yeah,
but yeah, but the truth of the matter is for us, I mean, we lost 90% of the people that we worked with. A few loyal people have hung on, and a few people are slowly coming back again, which is nice to see. But when we first started, it was like, yeah, you guys, we love you. We came and bought something. I'm going to stick to my dealer. I have a dealer now, or I'm going to go with the bike courier. And what are you going to say, man? Like, I didn't have anything at the time that I could say, but try this. There was nothing. Mm-hmm. So I was just like, yeah, that was a big blow. But like I said, discovering this whole new grouping of people who are starting almost from scratch, and I smoked weed when I was 15 once, or like that whole new group, that was something that became new for us to go back into that educating brand Nubians. And then when you bring not brand Nubians, sorry, that's a band, brand newbies. Yeah. Now, and then sort of seeing how that evolved and how people quickly catch on, and then now you've got this whole kind of mix of people that are like, I've been smoking weed all these years, I just came to see what this is all about, or like that's starting to happen more so because I think the product diversity is big. And also like now they're saying, well, my dealer only has 2 options, I just wanted to see what else I had access to. That's becoming a norm.
Yes. And I would say also what I'm going to just do a little bit of show and tell from the legacy side. Adolfo, don't get mad at me. But I think something that, really transformed our dispensaries was the training that Adolfo put together with CannaReps. And this
That's
whole
brilliant.
thing, I know, and it's so sad that we can't sell it anymore. But what we did is that Adolfo put together well over 30 different medical conditions,
Yeah.
what the symptoms were like, what that experience was like, and what was a preferred or helpful consumption method and accompanying product that would truly help with all of these medical conditions.
Yeah.
And now, since the divide of medical and recreational, it makes it so hard that legally speaking, we can't provide this really helpful content.
Not even to physicians, eh?
Well, no, some physicians are afraid, right? Because it basically, they want to have, double blind, no anecdotal, pure, firm science, so that, they feel protected because they don't want to take any liability. Now, research is being done, right? And, we'll get there. And sometimes research will debunk some of the beliefs that we used to have, right? We're all
provide an alternate explanation, right?
Yes.
Yeah, which is cool.
Yes. But, I think that it was those experiences, at least for me, is what kept me super passionate and loyal to this industry, because trust me, this industry is volatile.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of people that have quit because they're like, it's just too much.
Mm-hmm.
And so by knowing that, hey, I'm truly helping people, like this is something that we're going to, take on. This is like my mission, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so for you, for both of you, what keeps you going? Because it's hard, right? Money's been lost, time, effort. It's been a grind. So what keeps you going?
For me, I was just saying earlier that it's, I have had to continuously reimagine what that is. And I've had to decide what is aspirational for me and what is my reality. And my aspiration is that I can have a number of stores across Canada that are profitable and that pay the staff really, really well as professionals, because I think that the information that you need to hold on to and impart is highly, highly important. And so these are professional people. I think that should be able to do that. And I think that the cannabis has to be the best representation of what Canada has to offer. And I'd like to see it be accessible. And so those are a lot of things. And I wanted to see it be completely zero emissions, if not carbon regenerative. Like, I want to see this be something that makes the world a better place, right? So that's hugely aspirational. I know I'm not alone in that. But I have to start with what is now. So what keeps me in right now is that I've, for me, identified that ethical cannabis is affordable, good quality cannabis. That's all I can say right now. If it's produced by someone who's marginalized, strike up. If it's somebody who has taken extra effort to go beyond what the norm is in their packaging requirements, be it glass, be it cardboard, whatever, if they're doing something renewable, check mark. I got all these things that I would like to see. And if you can bring me good quality at an affordable price, that's the introduction. Okay. And then we're going to go through this checklist. And sometimes I'm going to stop at the first one. Okay. It's just good and it's cheap. Okay. But I'm looking for more, and I want to build that kind of a space that shares a sense of community, that admires what each other is doing, because there's so many people in the world. We're not competing. We're talking to different people about the same stuff in a language that they understand. And sometimes we share that language, so we'll shop at all the places, because, hey, I don't buy shoes from one place. I buy shoes from a lot of places because I like them for different reasons, right? So I want to work on nurturing that kind of a community again. And I know that there are people who share those values. So that I have to sort of keep myself open to partnering with those kinds of people, because if you can share a value and an aspiration and we can work together, let's push this up. That's all I want to do, is I want to lift us all up. So that's what keeps me going.
Awesome. I really appreciate that. You're really working towards pushing industry standards to a much better place. And it's not just for the industry, it's for our country, it's for the world, it's for the globe.
You. It's for all of us. Yeah,
exactly.
Because we're doing the same thing.
Yeah. And what about you, Aaron?
Yeah, so as Andrea was saying too, but like I believe like it's true, it's not a competition. Like I believe we're all in this to together. It is each of our missions to deliver the best value we can to our customers. And for me, like, being part of this industry is what motivates me to work for tomorrow, because I want to see change. I know what type of culture people want. I know what type of cannabis people deserve, the pricing, the value. I know there's so much work to do. It's just the beginning of this. There's so much regulations to work on and compliance standards and lessening of some bylaws. And so, like, who's better to see a change than if I were to be in it myself? Then, like, I'm going to be confident and wake up tomorrow knowing that there's a chance that change might happen, because at least I'm in it. And glad to see all these people all here today. I believe we all have the same vision, mission, which is to deliver the best available cannabis to our consumers at the best product, like best testing, right? And we know what we want, so I don't think we will stop until we get that.
Absolutely. And Aaron, the way you say it, I think you make me think that you're a true pioneer, because you see a problem and you break it down, you solve it, you make something beautiful out of it, and everybody gets to benefit. And that's, I really admire that about you. So thank you. Now, Adolfo, it's back to you. I know we've gone a little over time.
Definitely out of time, but I enjoyed this just so much, listening to everyone and talking to you. I wish we had more time to hang out, and I'm going to be visiting each of you at your store. Aaron, last time I went to your store, I don't remember what your manager is called, but he got me that delicious live resin chem dog from San Rafael that I keep going back to again and again. So I'll be seeing you for that soon, man. Andrea, Aaron, thank you so much for giving me your
Pleasure.
time. I love you both so much. Julie, I love you.
Back at you.
Everyone out there who took the time to listen to us, each of you, student, friend, onlooker, whether you just came the first time, please take the time to check out both Village Bloomery and ARCannabis. I love these folks. Take the time to check out our webpage, CannaReps.ca. Thank you all for giving us your time today.
Right.
And Julie, you want to add something?
Absolutely.
Glad to see you
Yes.
all.
Thank
Hi,
you.
everybody.
Thank you.